to listen to Nick. But I'm going to give people a moment to join. We're not going to get started straight away. So if you are here, in the comments, if you say hello, we get to see that. If you have any questions as well in those comments, we get to see that. Nick, I guess I should mention, I don't know if I didn't do this beforehand. If you look to the right-hand side, you've got a list of areas you can see. So if you go into comments, then you should see if people say hello.
Okay.
Then the questions that come up, you'll see that. So if you do say hello, say where you're from and who you are maybe as well. Sometimes we don't get to see the name depending on what LinkedIn or your privacy settings are. So yeah, do that for us if you're here already. If not, I will do this message again in probably 2 minutes time. Anyway, yeah, we'll get started in about 30 seconds. I'll get Nick's insights into Team DyNAmics, which I'm buzzing for. But yeah, I hope everybody's having a nice day. I feel like it's the first day back where we've got a bit of sunshine coming through and it's actually not too humid. Are you getting the same? Thomas, nice to see you, mate. We need to get you on here as well, actually, whilst I'm thinking about that. So I'll drop you a message afterwards. Yeah, Nick, are you ready? Stay 90 seconds.
I'm always ready, yeah.
Fantastic. So, good afternoon, everybody. As I said, if you are here already, please drop a comment in and say hello. Hello, Stephanie. It's nice to have you join us. If you have any questions, guys, obviously do drop them in the line in the notes for Nick. But yeah, I'm here with Nick Fewings from Team Wellbeing or from Engagement Works. We're talking about teams. We're talking about high-performing teams. Talking about how teams work best. Specifically looking at Team DyNAmics, the model we work with Clarity 4D to build. And how that works and how that supports teams as well. But I'm really excited because I love teamwork and the different dynamics and different views on what good teams bring and how we get to good teams to work well. So I'm really excited to see and to hear Nick's insights into how he's been doing that for however many years you've been doing it for, Nick.
Yeah,
been a while.
Quite a few, yeah.
Exactly, right. Before we get into you, Nick, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself, and then then it's all over to you, and everything's all about you.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who I am, my name's Rich. I am a high-performance executive coach. I run two businesses. The first is along those lines of performance, and it's called LP Revolution, where we look at how we help individuals, teams, and leadership perform at their best through three key areas: lessons from sport and what can we take to help us perform at our best in those areas. My performance framework, where I created this year, looking at 6 key pillars of performance and what we can implement and change and control in our day-to-day lives to impact those 6 areas. And then Clarity 4D and other psychometric tools to help teams really create self-awareness and help show others how we show up best for ourselves. So that's me. The second business is Employee Self, which is a workplace wellbeing education company and support company. We help strategies run at their best through education and support. Which is, if you want to know a bit more about either of those, then please just drop me a line. That's me done. Nick, over to you. Rather than me butcher your introduction, please introduce yourself. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Okay. Great. Thanks very much, Rich. And thank you ever so much for allowing me to be a guest on the Wellbeing Chat. As it says, my name's Nick Fewings. I call myself a teamworkologist. So anything with ology, because I studied Greek and Latin at school, that gives you an idea of my age. But anything with an ology is the study of. So I've studied teamwork for over 33 years. Yeah, absolutely frightening. So half my life, more than half my life, which is crazy. So I'm originally from Plymouth. So that's where I was brought up until I was 19. And that's why I've still got a West Country pirate accent. So I hope you can all understand what I'm saying. And when I was 19, I left school with pretty dreadful A-level results. I got 3 A-levels, but the grades weren't that great. 10 O-levels, GCSEs, but again, grades not that great. And So didn't have the opportunity to go to university. So I enjoyed playing Monopoly when I was a kid. So I thought I'll join the bank. So I joined Barclays Bank at the age of 19. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a career there for 21 years. And as part of that, that's where my passion for understanding teamwork and what makes some teams dysfunctional and other teams high performing, that's where it all started. Because in 1992, so at the age of 30, I'd done very well as a technical expert. It was in the days that the bank were just starting to introduce computers. And I was one of the first people to use one of these computers. And at the time, I was a commission and interest clerk. So all the businesses in Barclays, in Plymouth, where I worked, they had their quarterly commission and interest worked out manually. So it was quite an arduous job. And so they brought in these computers, and I learned the forerunner of Excel, which is a thing called Lotus 123. And I realized that I could plug in all the business names and I could put in their details, and it would work out the commission charges and the interest charges. So much so that the revenue increased by 25% in one quarter just by automating things. So made a bit of a name for myself. Then I was headhunted up to the regional office in Exeter, where I was the executive assistant to the regional director. Got a name for myself there. Then was moved to the global headquarters of Barclays in Poole, in Dorset. And I got to the point where I'd exceeded my contract so many times as a technical expert. I'd also got promotions throughout that period that I couldn't go any further. However, I'd gone a lot of learning and development, and one of the things that a course I'd been on was project management. So one day, my boss said, "You can't go any further just being you, a technical expert. So because you've got project management skills, there's a project we need you to do. Put together a team, 12 people. It's a technical project. It's an accounting project. And away you go. Just hand over your job to somebody else and then take over the team." At which point I said, "So are you going to give me some leadership development or understanding of how to inspire and motivate team members and achieve our goals?" And they said, "No, you haven't got time for that. Just crack on with it." So
good luck.
Yeah, I know. So I became what they call an accidental project manager. The Chartered Management Institute still use this name as accidental manager these days. And the frightening thing is 82% of managers are what they call accidental managers. And this was statistics from last year done by the Chartered Management Institute and YouGov, which basically says we've got 8 out of 10 leaders stroke managers leading teams, and they haven't got a clue how to do it. So this is still going on 30 odd years later. So going back to my experience, I blew the budget. The project overran. The project itself and the deliverables had lots of errors. I totally destroyed my team due to my incompetence, and for about 6 months, it really impacted on my well-being, my mental well-being. Sleepless nights, almost on the verge of depression, that I didn't want to come into work. And it was all down to the fact that I hadn't been given the appropriate training to lead teams effectively. So that's when I took a step back, and I decided there and then to make it my mission to help as many people, as many leaders in teams as I could, to not fall into the same trap as myself, what happened to me. Mm-hmm. So that's where my passion for teamwork started, basically due to a pretty bad period in my life.
A lived experience, right? That change happens after that awareness creation, I guess.
Yeah, and it was taking a step back and thinking, you know, is it me, or was it the fact that I hadn't been supported appropriately by the organisation? Mm-hmm. And again, as I said, this still goes on today, that a lot of organisations, you know, they have these values that say our people are our greatest asset. Our people are at the heart of everything that we do, and yet they don't support their leaders or their teams with the appropriate training or the tools to enable them to succeed. So yeah, I set out as I said, as my mission to see if I could help as many leaders and teams as I could throughout my career.
Nice. And so then I know you carried on at Barclays for a few more years before heading off by yourself to New Zealand.
Yeah, I mean, the first, after this big failure, the first thing I did was I suddenly realised you needed to understand who was in your team, mm-hmm. and also understand who you were. Mm-hmm. So I studied the psychology of Carl Jung, mm-hmm. Psychologist, and the majority of psychological tools and learning and profiling, if you dig deeper, they all go back to Carl Jung. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he talked about us, and you'll be aware of this due to the same as me working with Clarity 4D profiles, that we're all different because we have different psychological preferences, introversion, extroversion, thinking and feeling, and sensing and intuition, and that makes us unique. So the key thing, the first thing I did was find out about myself, you know, what I was like. Then to start to understand people that were not like me, that were different to me, and therefore how did I as a leader need to flex and adapt my style to meet their needs, to motivate, to inspire them. So you know, were they more introverted or extroverted than me? What were their communication needs? Did they like things verbally? Did they like things written down? Did they like things in graphic form? Did they make decisions logically, or did they make decisions based on emotions and relationships? So I studied behavioral psychology for about 8 years and started using it with teams, and suddenly realized, wow, these teams were finding this really powerful as individuals, because they were understanding themselves and developing as individuals, but also we could look at the makeup of the team and then start to play to people's strengths. So yeah, I did that for about 8 years until about the year 2000, and I thought there's still something missing. You know, we now know who's in our team, and we can start to play to people's strengths. But the missing bit was, well, how effectively are we working together as a team? Mm-hmm. So I went on a course, and the other day, bizarrely, I was in my loft because my wife and I have decided we need to clear the loft out because we're not getting any younger, and going up and down the stairs to the loft with big heavy boxes isn't going to happen in a few years' time. But when I went up there, I went into one of my boxes, and I found, I don't know if you can see this, these are the course notes that were faxed to me, and the date up here is May 2000. And this is the course that I went on that sparked my ideas about teamwork. And these are all my notes at the bottom. Mm-hmm. the simple question was, they asked us to think about what was the difference between a group of people and a team.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, the penny dropped then. So my notes, I put, teams have a purpose. Individuals in the team trust each other. They collaborate. They value diversity. They communicate effectively. They get the right people in the right roles with the right skills. They have a positive working environment. They're accountable to each other. And I wrote some words down over here to say that all these different areas of teamwork were interconnected. They had synergy. Mm-hmm. And my goodness, that course just changed my whole life completely. Mm-hmm. So I really got into understanding how teams achieved high performance. For the next 14 years, I worked with, I'd left Barclays by then. I was working with hundreds of teams and thousands of individuals worldwide in terms of the business that I was doing. And of course, each one gave me some valuable knowledge and experience about how they worked, which resulted in creating a unique model called Team DyNAmics. And the word dynamics, I have the capital DNA in it because each team has different DNA. We have different people in the team, going back to the who's in our team. So we've got that element there. And the teams may be in the same office, they may be hybrid, they may be global. They will all be developing and delivering different products and services. So the DNA of each team is different. So I created this model that measures 16 areas of teamwork. I call them elements of teamwork. Mm-hmm. And then off the back of that, I created an in-depth report that teams could measure how effective they were overall and across these 16 different areas of teamwork. Mm-hmm. And shared it with a couple of teams that I was working with, and they absolutely loved it. And I continued to develop it. And now that report is used by Clarity 4D for practitioners. It's used worldwide. It's been translated into Portuguese. It's been translated into Polish. It's been translated most recently into Mandarin. And last week, it was used for the first time in China. And next week it's going to be used for the first time in Australia and New Zealand. So it's unique because there's nothing like it out there. But also the thing is, the really important thing is, most organizations and businesses measure success, performance around key performance indicators, KPIs. KPIs they were created in the 1950s, mm-hmm. and they really got traction in the 1980s and 1990s. And the reason they got traction was because engineers loved them, because mm-hmm. engineers like facts and data and information. Mm-hmm. Most key performance indicators measure things to do with cost, quality, and time. So have we delivered something on time? Have we delivered it to the quality that's expected? How much has it cost to do that? What they don't measure, because they see it as soft skills, is the teamwork that sits underneath it. Mm-hmm. Because if your team aren't working effectively, you're not going to get the quality in the product or service. Mm-hmm. If your team take too long to implement it, your costs are going to go through the roof. Mm-hmm. If they duplicate work or they go down side tracks, which they shouldn't do, it's going to take longer to achieve success. So everything in terms of the key performance indicators, you can measure them back to the effectiveness of teamwork. And I've been banging this drum for many, many years, but the tide is starting to turn now. And more organizations realizing that if you're going to be successful, you've got to measure the effectiveness of your teamwork.
Yeah, I guess I've got a question around that, but I want to go back to the 16 key areas. Can you give us a bit more information about those and kind of what they are, how they work?
Sure. So 16 areas, and they're split into task related and relationship related. So at a top level, there are 4 categories. There's strategy and structure. So the strategy is, what are you trying to achieve? Structure is the processes that sit underneath it. So they're 2 task related, and then the other 2 are relationship related, and they are cooperation and engagement. So how effectively are we cooperating together as individuals to work as a team, and how engaged are we as a team? Do we believe what we're trying to deliver? So task, relationships, so those 4 categories: strategy, structure go into task related, engagement and cooperation go into the relationship related. So as an example then, because you measure 16 areas of teamwork, if we look at strategy tends to be action orientated. So the first thing, the most important thing in your strategy is purpose. Frighteningly, 4 out of 10 team members don't understand what their team is meant to be doing. So purpose is what I call one of the power 4 of these 16 elements. I always say to teams, when I work with teams, sort out your team purpose. And it's easy to do. You can involve all the team, sit them down, and get them to answer 3 questions. What does our team exist to do? Number 2, what does that enable? And number 3, what are the benefits? And you should be able to create a team purpose statement from that. So, and you should be able to tell people within about a minute. So mine is, as an example, engagement works exists to provide learning and development solutions. So that's what do I do? Very top level. I don't say that I do it online, face to face, etc., through books, through online learning. That's not needed. Top level. The enable bit, it enables it motivates individuals and inspires the team. So so what does that learning do? Hopefully it should set a spark off in team members. And then the benefits are that it helps individuals and teams to achieve even greater success because it works on 2 levels. So that's an example of a team purpose statement. Everything.
It's interesting there, just because of that connection between well-being, that team of purpose in teams, and where you've just explained it is really similar to purpose as individuals. When we have a sense of purpose and a sense of direction, and maybe like it's an internal mission, we have a higher sense of well-being and a bigger feeling of happiness. Totally agree. Totally agree. Kind of, that kind of before, like, and I always say this with performance, right? Is actually when we can get to the root of some of the well-being things. Same for teams here. The higher performance we have, the output we have.
Yeah. Totally. You know, we want to come to work, and we want to work in a team where we're passionate about that. We're committed to that team. we understand our purpose and what it does for our customers or our clients, whether they be internal or external to the organization. And there's been a lot of research done in terms of the benefits of having a team purpose. And if you've got a team purpose statement, teams that have that clarity have a 42% uplift in their productivity. So team purpose, I would say, is your North Star. Everything you do in a team comes from that team purpose. You know, your team meetings, they should always focus on discussions around your team purpose.
How we're going to get towards that team purpose.
Exactly.
It's the same for performance as well. I think it's, once you know what that is, if you decide that your purpose leads in, if you decide you want to do activity, that's probably going to connect to what you're trying to achieve in the next 10, 15 years, 20 years. Understand what that real internal motivation is. You then make the right decisions off the back of that. Exactly.
And then sitting underneath that, then you need the processes to get you there. You know, what are your milestones? What are the things that you need to do? So going back, so strategy is an example. Purpose is the key thing in there. The other three elements of teamwork that sit in strategy are accountability. A lot of teams, the leader holds individuals accountable. In great teams, every team member holds each other accountable. So we can measure the effectiveness of accountability. The next one is decision making. So who has the authority to make what decisions in the team? So clarity around that. And then the fourth thing is vision. So purpose I always see as more operational and more short term. You know, what are we trying to achieve in the next 12 to 18 months? Vision, it tends to be aspirational. What do we want to achieve as a team in 5, 6 years' time? So those are the four that sit under strategy, and then, and I won't go through all 16, but there's four that sit under process under structure. So structure is about, have we got the right roles and skills? So that's one of them. Have we got the right processes in place is another. Then if we go to the relationships where we've got cooperation and engagement. Engagement is about team meetings. How effective are our team meetings? It also, in engagement, is about trust and diversity, valuing diversity. Cooperation is about how effectively we collaborate and share our knowledge and skills. Also, how effective is our communication, and what are our levels of commitment like? So all these 16 can be measured. So a team can understand whether they're developing, whether they're average, whether they're good, or whether they're high performing. And some teams that I've worked with have had significantly positive results. The majority of teams, when they run the report and they do it a second time so that they can benchmark any changes that they've made, usually will have an increase in effectiveness, a minimum of 3%. And I've had a number of teams go from developing when they first ran it, and they've run it 4 times over a period of 2 years, and they've gone from developing to high performing. Just because of the fact that they can measure things, and if you can measure something, you can understand and celebrate what's working well, but equally you can discuss challenges that you need to overcome and then agree practical solutions to overcome them.
I really like it. I think it makes it really nice, clear and simple. I've got 2 questions. My first question is, you spoke about the power 4 and you mentioned purpose, and obviously that's under structure, I think.
No, strategy, yeah.
What are the other what are the other three for your
The
power
other,
four?
the other three par four, and you've got one in each of the four categories. So you've got purpose. The other one, the next one is trust. Really important that you build trust within your team. There's two types of trust. There's operational trust and appreciative trust. Operational trust is I trust you to change your password on your PC on a regular basis. I trust you to follow the health and safety guidelines. I trust you to log your overtime. So that's what I call operational trust, which is important, but it's not as important as appreciative trust, which is I appreciate you for who you are, for the individual you are, the skills that you bring, your personal beliefs, your background, your ideas, the behavioral diversity that you bring. So that's very much about the individual. And it's the appreciative trust that really drives teams forward, understanding people. So, and there's again some simple activities that you can undertake to actually start that journey of getting people to not just know you as a name and what you do in your technical skills, but to actually understand you as a person. So you got trust. The next thing is collaboration. So that is about sharing our skills and knowledge with other people effectively. And in terms of the majority of teams don't actually understand, team members don't understand the skills that their colleague bring to the team. I find it absolutely frightening that when I work with some teams that they don't understand the technical skills of their colleagues. And you think, well, you know, if somebody's good at something and they've got a particular technical skill, let's play to their strength. But a lot of teams, I say, what's Fred's technical skills? And people sit there looking blankly. And I even worked with a leadership team recently where we were talking about technical skills, and one of them wrote down that they had a degree in contract law. One of the other leaders said, really? I never knew that. He said, yeah, I got it at university. He said, oh, I wish I'd known because we had a problem with the contract the other day. And he said, I had to go to a solicitor's to get some advice on what we needed to do with this contract. And the other guy said, so what was wrong? They shared what was wrong. And the other guy said, oh, yeah, I could have sorted that out. I know the answer to that. They spent £12,000 with the solicitors for advice that they didn't need. You know, shocking. That money walked out of that company, and if they just known their colleagues' technical skills, they would have had another 12 grand in the bank.
I think that skill awareness is really important. I use a referral or kind of example from sports in that, like if you're setting your team out and you've got these guys which are fantastic at defending or tackling, and you've got guys who and then you've got different guys who are really quick, and you've got guys who are left-footed and right-footed. You need to understand what those skills are, so then when you create your team on a sports field, you put them in the positions which are going to be most useful for those skills.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand why we don't do the same in a workplace, because it makes so much more sense.
Rich, I could go on for all day about this. It really frustrates me that you look at sports teams, the majority of their time they are spending discussing their teamwork, getting the right people with the right skills in the right positions. Their purpose is, you know, if it's football on the Saturday, is to get 3 points, is to win at all costs, etc. They look at data from their past games. So they're using data. They've got individual data on the players themselves. So they spend probably 90% of their time actually looking at their teamwork and how they could do better. And 10% is about delivery, the game on the Saturday. In business, we do it completely the opposite. Completely opposite.
It has to be a little bit of that, right? Like it can't be 90% because otherwise we would not do any of the delivery, right? But I agree with you. Just sometime per week, per month, just looking at us how we perform, but we don't do that either.
No. I did a survey on LinkedIn, and I just asked the question, simple question: how often do you get together to discuss about your teamwork? And the majority of teams, it's never. They have team meetings, but when they go in and they have team meetings, they're talking about key performance indicators. They're talking about deadlines and budgets and quality. They're not taking time out to say, how effectively are we working together? And that is why there's been research recently by McKinsey in the US, by Gallup, by the Harvard Business Review, and they all come back with the same thing: only 10% of teams are high performing. Well, it's no surprise. We've got 82% of leaders that don't know anything about teamwork. You know, these accidental managers. We've then the teams aren't being supported with the right learning and tools, so it's no surprise that there's only going to be 10% of them that are high performing.
Completely agree. I'm going to go back to this last. There's one more power four.
So we've got purpose, trust. We've got collaboration, and then planning is the other one. Because once you've agreed what your team purpose is, the plans are important to map out how we're going to get there. What are the things that we need to do? When do we need to do those things? Who's going to do those things? Who's going to be accountable and responsible for doing those things? And again, a lot of teams, that they have a planning cycle to get their budgets, their yearly budgets sorted out. So they do this wonderful team plan, and then all of a sudden it goes in the drawer, and it never sees the light of day again. Plans need to be living documents. You know, they need to be reviewed on a regular basis, because there's always changes that are going on externally, you know, in the economy. There's also always changes going on internally in businesses, in organizations. So teams should be regularly reviewing those plans and saying, are these still fit for purpose?
They also keep people accountable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Team accountable. I think plans are. I think as an individual, planning is important, and as a team, I think it's even more important. It's because it's consistently reflecting, understanding where we're at, how are we moving forward, what can we be doing better. I think if you have that plan in place and in front of you, how do you have that conversation?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I find this super fascinating. I hope everybody else does listening too. And if you have any questions, please drop your line. Obviously, thank you for the comments as well. You've been praised for your honesty and vulnerability, Nick. Now, I want to discuss how you measure this, because I think this is really interesting. How, in your team dynamics assessments, how are you measuring these 16 areas?
Okay. I've come up with, over the years, they've been refined, what I call killer statements, killer questionnaires. So, as an example, we said there's 16 elements that are measured, and each of those 16 elements has 3 killer questions associated with it. So as an example, team meetings. The killer question is, our team meetings start and end on time? That's one of them. So team members go online anonymously, and they can score between 1, no, our team meetings don't start and end on time, or 10, yes, they do. The feedback from team members is anonymous, so that they can be open and honest. So once all the team members, if there's 10 team members, once they've all completed it, then the results get amalgamated and you can see a percentage score for team meetings, which includes the other 2 questions in that. You can also see the spread of responses. So are they all clustered together? Have we got a couple of people in the team that are really disgruntled? As I said, we don't know who those team members are. So it gives you some wonderful, rich data to then open up conversations, because if team meetings don't start and end on time, then you can have an open discussion with your team to say, you know, what are the knock-on effects? You know, the knock-on effects is so-and-so turns up late, so there's 9 of us here waiting for 10 minutes for them to arrive because the last team meeting overran. So we've wasted collectively as a team 90 minutes, an hour and a half of our time. So you can start to get underneath the skin of it, of what other impact does that have. Once you've done that, then you know these results are a mirror up to the team, because the results come from them. So then you can open up the discussions. Well, what do we need to do to overcome this? You know, and the example I said there with team meetings is quite a number of teams that I've worked with in the past. They've come back and said, well, the simple solution is we have a 45-minute team meeting. A lot of teams are driven by the fact that we've got Microsoft Outlook that does it in half-hour chunks. And you can change it, but the default is the half-hour chunks. So, of course, when people go in a team meeting, they put it in for the hour. Put it in for 45 minutes. You know, make sure your team meeting's effective and efficient and finishes after 45 minutes. Gives people that decompression time before they have to go elsewhere and start the next one. So the in-depth report is really powerful because it enables teams to come up with practical solutions to overcome challenges.
And I can also see how like it gives you information about each area, each element, you called it, each element, but it also gives you information about each key, so each area of one of those 4 pillars, let's call them. I think you probably got a better name for that, but each pillar, it gives you an area, okay, well, actually, this team is thriving in strategy, cooperation, and engagement, but they aren't, they're struggling in structure. So then it gives you as the facilitator, or ignoring you and taking you out of the picture, and you've just done the assessment and given them the information, them as a team to go, okay, well, look, these are the 4 areas that maybe we need to keep working on. To do outside of that training as well.
Yeah, and hitting on what you've said there, the team dynamics can be facilitated by an external facilitator, because I'm aware that some organizations potentially might not have the capacity or the desire to do it internally. However, recently, what's happened is I've co-created a tool called our Team Synergy. Now, our Team Synergy enables leaders to learn all about teamwork online, so they can learn everything about teamwork, and that learning includes everything that's in there plus more. So there's a hell of a lot more than just in the book. So they learn all about teamwork, and it can be a leader of the team, it could be one of the team members, it doesn't matter who learns about it. For safety reasons, they then have to achieve a confirmation of learning. So the pass rate is 80%. If they get 80%, it unlocks their ability to produce their own team's reports based on the Team DyNAmics model. So basically, there's now a self-service option
Mhm.
for businesses.
Mhm.
So they've got options. You know,
Mhm.
if somebody uses Clarity 4D like you, Rich, and you talk to this with this about to your clients, you could facilitate it on their behalf.
Mhm.
However, if there's organizations that say, do you know, we'd like our leaders to actually learn about it and actually be able to do it self-service,
Mhm.
then there's a new option called our Team Synergy. So
Yeah.
I keep trying
They're
to,
both, right?
yeah, I keep trying to push the boundaries of this because I think it's really important that we move teamwork forward.
Yeah.
So, but I also think it's really important to give organizations and businesses options.
Yeah, I see that as those two options of allowing leaders to do it as well as facilitators. But I think they could be a real power in the both. Like the facilitator, I think there's more impact from a facilitator to allow the leader to be part of it, but the leader having the awareness and knowledge of these key areas to make sure that they're living and breathing it every single day.
Yeah, and it's the beauty of it is that all the, you know, I said there were 48 what I call killer questions, killer statements. They work for operational teams, project teams, and leadership teams. So they work at all those three levels in organizations, and they've also been created to work for um, local teams, i.e., teams that work together, but also for hybrid working and for global teams.
Yeah.
So it's a tool that can be used by any team operating in any way.
Yeah, I love that. I think it sounds really interesting, and I think it's a really great tool for teams to use. Those 16 areas, you can see real impact, and you can see how it can really affect a team if they're not hitting those areas. Nick, look, just thinking of time, what I'd like to do, we could easily run out of time and continue this conversation and dive into more areas of team dynamics and how teams perform at their best, and then maybe we save that for another episode at some point. What I want to do is just to close out with this question: what are your top 3 tips to create high performing teams?
Top 3 tips would be, number 1, as I've said, get your team together and just do a simple activity to agree a team purpose statement, which, as I said, very simple. Our team exists to do X, Y, and Z, which should enable A, B, and C to happen, and the benefits are D, E, and F. Because if you don't have any benefits at the end, you should be asking yourself, well, why are we a team? So I'd say get your team purpose statement sorted out, because everybody in your team should know what it is, and it should drive everything else that your team does. Also, really important that any new team members that come in, you share that with them. So that would be number 1. Number 2 would be create space. And again, it is down to the team. Only the team can do this, is create space in the diaries that the team and the whole team, not just part of it, the whole team get together on a regular basis to discuss teamwork, not to just discuss goals, deadlines, budget, quality issues, risks, etc. Discuss teamwork. And then the third thing I would do is say, for goodness sakes, measure it. Because if you can measure something, you can understand it, you can celebrate what's working well, and then you can understand your challenges, and that means that you can discuss how to overcome your challenges. So, number 1, create a purpose statement that everybody agrees to. Number 2, find time to talk about teamwork. not just your operational KPIs. And number 3, measure it.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's really interesting. I like the fact you started with purpose, because as a coach, I kind of do the same thing. I'm an individual coach as well. I do the same thing, and I think that's the best starting point. Understand why, understand what you're trying to do, because then you can drive.
Yeah, I mean, Simon Sinek's book says start with why, but I must admit, that grates on me a little bit, because I think that nobody ever comes up to you and says, "Why'd you do it?" Is one of their first questions. When people meet you, and I'm sure it's the same in many, many cultures around the world, first thing you do is say, "What do you do?" Mm-hmm. And that's why I think you should start with that in your team. Our team exists to do, so it's what you do. Mm-hmm. The start with why should actually be the end with why, because the why is the benefits at the end. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's important, but I think you shouldn't start with why, because most teams are already created.
I think it comes. I think it's an individual thing, isn't it? The why is, why are you doing it? What's it bringing to you? Yeah. And then that translates to the what. For a team is, what are you doing? And then why is that? Why am I connected to that what? Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So yeah.
Nick, I really appreciate that. Thank you for your time. We might have a chance to do this again at some point and discuss a bit further in other areas of team performance. But I really appreciate your time and your insights.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to guest on here, and I hope those people that have joined us have got value from it, and maybe some more if it's been recorded. That will help them. And in terms of another time in the future, just to whet your appetite, for the last 6 months, I've been again pushing the boundaries, and you've talked about this is being the wellbeing chat. So I've taken the Team DyNAmics, and I've been looking at also the impact of resilience, how resilient is a team. And I've created and tested it out already, something that I'm calling the Team Wellbeing Index. Yeah. So that looks at not just how effective and efficiently are we working together as a team, but there's also an element of how resilient are we. Yeah. So maybe that's where we could go next time.
Yeah, for sure. I love that idea. Appreciate Nick, stay where you're at. Everybody else, thank you for joining. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for engaging with us. I do appreciate it. You can find Nick on his LinkedIn. Obviously, message him if you have any questions. Next week, I have David and Katie on talking about gambling support at workplace. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. So yeah, keep in touch. Keep an eye on what we're doing, and I look forward to hearing from any of you soon. Take care. Have a lovely week. Bye-bye.